Hello and welcome to Middlebury 5-0. I am your host, Officer Chris Mason. With me in the studio today, I have a whole host of guests, a collection of guests, and they are all from the organization Sister to Sister. Welcome to the show. And usually I would introduce my guests by name, but there's just so many of you that my limited police officer mental capacity is not be able to remember all those names. So why don't you introduce yourselves? Tell us who you are.
Okay. So my name is Muriel, and I'm a junior at Middlebury College.
Okay.
My name's Grace. I'm also a junior at Middlebury College.
I'm Emily, and I'm a sophomore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Karen Hunter. I'm director of Chalice House, the Women's Resource Center at Middlebury College.
Right. So you're not a student. No.
Super senior.
That's right, exactly.
Yeah.
So why don't we start out by you explaining what Sister to Sister is, like in very broad terms.
Yeah. Sister to Sister started 11 years ago in 2005 when three faculty and staff members, Gail Smith, who was the Associate Director of Athletics, Leanne Barrera, a fellow staff member, and myself, designed a winter term course, an intensive J-term course, for students to participate in Sister to Sister. And we had 4 students, and what we came up was a one-day summit, which took place in May of the year, and of that same year, and it has been going strong since then, and it has evolved since then. In addition to the one-day summit, we also have monthly programs, 2 hours long, where we get the girls from all 3 middle schools in Addison County to campus for fun activities. It has evolved quite a bit from there. We started out with 4 students who designed the program, but we've had, I think, over a dozen participants every year, and we've really reached out and made a good effort to connect with the community.
So this is middle school girls and college girls.
Right.
Well, women.
Young adults.
Yep. So it's all female. It's all no guys.
Yeah, it's for people who are female identifying, and
Sure.
we just want to make an inclusive community.
Right,
to
absolutely.
build those sisterhood bonds.
And so you said there's 12 college women that are participating in it?
There's a lot more than 12, I want to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
So we have monthly meetings to plan these events, and then every month we have one event that's either 2 hours long, or this November we're going to have our summit, which is the entire day, and we have a bunch of workshops planned for that, and yummy food. So
November 19th.
yes,
November
November
19th.
19th.
Okay.
Um,
So what are some of the activities that you do with the middle school girls, the 2 hour long segments?
Well, over the years, we've done dance workshops, we've done Zumba workshops, we've done pottery nights, we've done holiday celebrations. Our last event was a Halloween event where we had a scavenger hunt that ended up on the top of By Hall, and we had an astronomy professor teach the girls a little bit about astronomy. So usually the events have a really fun component, and then we also try and bring up a topic and start different conversations about different issues. Yeah.
Right. And actually, I have a personal connection to your organization in that my daughter has participated in
Right.
Sister to Sister as a middle school student. Several events. I remember one event that was chemistry themed, and it was science themed,
Yeah.
and she had a lab coat that got decorated,
Yeah.
and she was very excited about that.
That was one of my favorite events. Yeah.
For that one, we actually had a professor of chemistry from the college come and do something fun with some of his students,
Sure.
and just like put on this show for us.
With
And
the explosions.
yeah, we like kind of lit things on fire. There are a lot of bubbles, bioluminescence.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Just
think
everything.
It was just as fun for the college students as well as the middle school.
Yeah, that's really what draws us.
A lot of the girls knew a lot more about
Oh
chemistry
my gosh.
than I did. They were going up there and like teaching us.
Literally.
Yeah.
He would ask questions, and we'd all be like, I don't know, you tell us. And then the girls would just be like, I saw that somewhere, like, we know.
Sure.
It's fabulous.
And there are snacks at these
Oh,
at these
100%.
events. Right. So there are many different activities, but the one connecting the thread that really connects all these things is the snacks.
We have
It's
fabulous
yes,
snacks.
yes.
Definitely will always make sure that there are tasty snacks at our events.
Yeah, one of my favorites has been our s'mores dip, and that kind of shows our like adaptability because we were supposed to be outside,
Yeah.
Yes.
roasting s'mores at a fire pit, but it was rain. I think it was super cold
was
and
really
rainy.
raining.
I remember that night. Yes.
And so we decided to make a s'mores dip instead, and we just found it online, and it turned out to be the biggest hit.
It was delicious.
So what turned out to just kind of be like a last-minute mistake turned out to be one of my favorite events.
And
but
we continue to make it. At
Oh,
our
yeah.
events. Actually, we just had it at our planning meeting, and
Yeah.
it'll probably make an appearance again.
So what is s'mores dip? Let's
so it's super easy. You literally
that's one thing.
like
It's so easier than s'mores.
because I'm starting to
It is.
salivate. now. Yeah.
So essentially, you have a pan, you put some butter so nothing sticks, and just like chocolate and marshmallows, and everything turns out perfectly. Because you know sometimes with s'mores it'll like turn on fire. You have to wait for a long time for it to just like you know get a nice golden brown. But these you just pop in the oven, and then you
Right.
use graham crackers as sort of like your chip or something.
Sure.
And it's I don't know, every single time it just turns out deliciously.
So it's a bit like s'mores nachos almost.
Yeah.
Very messy, but worth it.
Exactly.
So these activities, the science-based stuff, they sound like there were a lot of dance things that you do with the
We do a lot of movement type of stuff
yes,
as well.
some yoga and Zumba. I think you mentioned. So these sound like really compelling things that middle school girls would really enjoy and get into, and that would be part of the draw. But it seems like a huge component would be the opportunity for these young girls to connect with young women. That would be at least as important as the activities.
I think definitely whatever activity we're doing, that's like the underlying principle of the club. I think even when we have activities that one night we just decided, it was like last minute, we decided to have a movie night. And honestly, that was so successful because it just got all the girls in one room and we just had really meaningful conversations. And we learn as much from them as I hope that they learn from us. And that's, I think, especially what we love about the summit is a lot of the summit is just facilitating conversations and like facilitating that bonding between the girls and us.
So I would think for most middle school girls, they would have a certain amount of connection with middle-aged people, people my age, women my age, through their mothers and their mothers' friends. So they'd be connected to those people, those adults. But and they would probably have a peer group, people that they speak to. But women your age, they probably wouldn't have any connection to at all, unless they happen to have a sister who's a lot older, who's in college maybe. But generally speaking, that would be a complete absence for them. So
It's true. I feel like something special about being college students and working with middle schoolers is that the middle school experience is so much fresher for us compared
Exactly.
to like someone who has like, you know, gone through just like life, you know. And it seems that yeah, we understand some things a little.
well, there's the distance. I mean, when I think back to middle school, there's the fact that it was so many more years ago for me, but also it was very different. Like our culture has shifted so much over the last couple of decades or so that my middle school experience is probably not all that representative of what my daughter is experiencing, for instance.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I remember that whenever like the middle school dance season comes around, that's always a big topic at our event, and I totally remember being there and
Right.
you know, like the awkwardness of that, and like sort of the divide between like boys on one side, girls on one side, and so just being able to like talk about those shared experiences with the girls, yeah.
So I think a lot about girls and what girls experience. Having a daughter going through middle school right now, it's very much at the forefront of my mind. And I would say in some ways, I feel like over the last 2-3 decades, there have been some real strides, some really fabulous changes in the opportunities that women have in our society. But there are things that are still in play, maybe even some things that have gotten worse with respect to girls growing up, some of the challenges. And I think of particularly the commercialization of abuse, basically. And the way body image in particular gets kind of woven into that, and how that feeds into relationships and unhealthy relationships. And I'm wondering, is that a piece of the sister to sister movement? Is it?
Yeah, that's definitely something we try to incorporate, or we try to talk just about certain things that might be relevant that's going on in the girls' lives whenever they come to the events. And so those are definitely topics we try to hit, definitely like social media and that impact in terms of like body image, as well as like relationships with friends and stuff like that. So yeah, that's a huge part of what we're trying to do with Sister to Sister, is just bring those topics to conversation and provide some sort of perspective of people who've, you know, come out on the other end pretty okay.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think that would be the greatest service, almost, is like you being examples of women who are empowered and confident and capable, and in contrast, in many ways, to what they might be seeing on television or in the media.
Yeah, I think reminded me of at the summit last year, a big thing we did was warm fuzzies. So it's kind of teaching like self-love and loving each other for like what you are. So you could write little sticky notes anonymously to like someone you'd been partnered with earlier and just say, oh, like, I love your smile, or like, you really made me laugh when you said that. So just little things that you could learn how to like appreciate how you've acting or what you've done, and someone else like taking notice of that. That's just a nice thing to know.
Right.
Sure.
And that was really an idea from the beginning, to pair a fun activity with a more serious discussion, like we would have log rolling and then talk about body image at the Middlebury pool.
And I think even like an event like log rolling is like gets at the idea of like creating a space that's outside of those like social pressures of a middle school environment, where we can just be silly together, we can like trust each other and love each other, and just like build a space where like those sort of harmful pressures and stereotypes like don't necessarily impact us as much.
Right. Middle school in particular, it seems like such a crucial juncture, such a critical age, because it is when a lot of girls are starting to establish a sense of themselves, build identity, and along with that, becoming more self-conscious, more aware of what's around them and how they fit into that environment, and that's difficult. It's very challenging. So when they are around boys and there are other pressures, I think it is very hard for them to just feel comfortable with who they are and be silly and have fun.
And I think that's also something we can connect with, being in like such a transitory period in our lives as well. Like college is only 4 years, we're with a bunch of new people, and being able to sort of see those experiences sort of in parallel, and also providing some like, okay, like this is sort of the second time going through this.
It's like your second middle school experience.
Not exactly middle school.
No, but I remember coming in as a freshman last year and joining the club, and at the first event with the middle schoolers, I just loved the idea, like the space where you could just let go and just be yourself and relax, and kind of have that like more, even though we're young, like the youthful energy, and just remember how to be more carefree and just enjoying things, and seeing that in them helps, and I think it reflects both ways, which is really nice.
Yeah, I was wondering about that, because we focus mostly upon how it might benefit the middle school children, but I would think as young women who kind of you've moved out of grade school now, you kind of left that behind you and created some distance between yourself and that life, but being able to reconnect with a little piece of that, maybe I would imagine that might be a really positive thing for you. And
I think that's definitely like my favorite thing about Sister to Sister. I have a younger sister at home, but it is really hard at college when you're just surrounded by 20-year-olds a lot of the time, and it's always a lot of like really serious, like you're supposed to pretend that, you know, you have your life together and then you're like this like adult college student.
Well, that's what it's. You have to fake it till you make
Yeah,
it. So
yeah,
you have to
exactly.
pretend you have your life together, and then eventually, if you,
it'll
yeah.
come.
Hopefully.
But yeah, I think that's what I love about Sister to Sister is, you know, getting to like have a room full of younger sisters and older sisters and just all being sort of in that flux together.
Right. So I think of it as sort of an idealized notion of sisterhood. Because like, I didn't grow up with a sister. I wasn't lucky enough to have a sister. But I think like actual sisters is usually a lot of bickering.
Yeah, it definitely is an idealized notion of sisterhood. So just like, you know, like we're all in this together and we're going to be more of the like support system without the bickering, like that aspect of it. And so like trying to get the positivity of like that support, I think is.
Which I mean that's another one of the issues. I work in the school system professionally. I'm the school resource officer in Middlebury, so I have a lot of contact with high school age students, middle school as well to some extent, and it seems like often the girls, you know, one of their biggest challenges are their friends. Like they're the people that are often kind of dragging them down and judging them and making life difficult for them. So that the way that girls interact and treat each other often seems to be pretty problematic.
I feel like creating this space sort of away from the school is also helpful in bringing down those barriers and those judgments.
Right.
And how like, okay, we have a bunch of like older sisters who like we're really working hard to have that space be safe and have that space be as welcoming as possible. And then since we have like 3 middle schools, girls from 3 middle schools come, it's a mix of it, like different mix of people, and there's not really that like hierarchy anymore or you know, those barriers.
Right.
Yeah.
Girls have an opportunity from different schools to get to know each other.
Yeah, that's really special too.
So it's not just a tight, like little social group and another tight little social group.
Like in our last event, we it involved an activity where everyone had to split up into groups, and we like made sure that, you know, like the groups were mixed of people who didn't know each other yet, so that, you know, like hopefully new friendships can form.
Yeah. And also from that came like a lot of group solidarity. Like I remember we got cider donuts from Happy Valley, and and one of our ideas was to have like a donut eating competition, or just like some, like, you know, you hang a donut off a string and like you can't use your hands but you have to eat the donut. And like some groups like really stuck together and we're just like, you know what, we're gonna like make this into a relay, and like we're gonna cheer each other on. And like even though there was sort of a competitive aspect to it, at the end it was just like everyone was on the floor laughing just because it was hilarious how we had to eat donuts with our hands.
Yeah.
So
Sure. So I think we talked about some of the chat. I mean, one of the big things, one of the big issues, and it's front and center for me working within the school system is electronics and how that impacts. I mean, young people across the board, but women in particular, girls. There are so many pitfalls. There are so many ways in which it can exercise a negative influence. There are ways in which it can be really, really positive as well. But it's a very challenging thing for young people to negotiate. And if they make mistakes in that realm, those are mistakes that can really stay with them as well. So they can do a lot of damage on a lot of levels.
Yeah, at most of our events we try and make it sort of technology free, like show like we're not on our phones, like hopefully you won't be on your phones too. But also we've recently been talking about making the topic of social media and how it impacts like our daily lives and how we think about ourselves and our body image as one of the themes of our next event that we'll be talking about.
Right. So it seems like almost it's an aspect of a person's identity now. So it's not just a peripheral thing anymore. You have your physical identity, how you define yourself, and your electronic identity almost. So it's a whole facet of who you are. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also showing how fast like technology has grown. Because even when I was in middle school, I didn't
Right.
even have, compared to the
Right.
middle school goes now, phones and everything. So it's
Right.
interesting relating that and see, because that even though we are compared to like their mothers, probably closer to them in age and middle
Right.
school, like it still is kind of different how they're now exposed to all these things like Snapchat and Instagram and how that affects their lives. So it's interesting seeing that and being able to help them and try and learn from them, and they can learn from us as well.
Does it ever make you feel old?
Like all these mean words that I just don't know what they mean. My little sister always has to like break it down with the latest like hashtag memes.
Right. So I'm curious, what inspired you to come to Sister to Sister? What kind of brought you in? What was that?
I think for me, it was most of it was breaking out of the Middlebury college bubble. Like Grace was saying about how like constantly surrounded by 20-year-olds, wanting to reach out to the broader Middlebury community. And I think also relating back to like my own middle school experience and being like, wow, this would have been something I would have really enjoyed. Like, you know, once a month, looking forward to hanging out with some familiar faces who, you know, are not always like in the school setting.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think back to my middle school experience. It was hell. It was the most wretched portion of my life, I would say. And I could imagine. I mean, obviously I wasn't a girl, but being able to connect with somebody of college age would have been a phenomenal experience. I think it would have helped a tremendous amount back then. Yeah. So what about you? What drew you to Sister to Sister?
I mean, as I said, I think it was a lot of me missing my younger sister in that relationship. And also I was a new student on campus, and it just provided a really great community to be a part of and like a support system to draw upon.
Yeah, mine's similar. I also have a younger sister, and the age dynamics, because even though I was last year coming in as freshman, I still already just a few months into college, I realized, wow, I haven't been around younger children in such a long time. So it was kind of nice also just having that environment that wasn't, even though like our daily lives at school, sometimes it's pretty intense, like you have to get work done in here, but here with these younger girls, it's an environment where you don't have to be kind of like act like you have your life together or your academics or anything like that. It's just completely carefree and more social and happy. So I really liked that sort of environment that it gave me.
So I'm kind of curious, like, two of you at least are older sisters. Are you an older sister?
I'm a younger sister.
You're a younger sister.
So I've experienced the opposite end of that. And I've had also some like fabulous mentors who were just like a couple years older than me as well. And I feel like that's definitely inspiring to be like, feel like I really want to be able to do that for someone else.
Right.
You know?
I'm wondering if Sister to Sister tends to attract your eldest children or older sisters.
Yeah, we
If
should
there's
ask
a
that at our next
correlation
meeting.
there.
We should
Yeah.
ask people.
Do a survey.
Yeah.
Actually, the two founding members were sisters.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's so
and they
sweet.
they started doing the program because they wanted to be together and do something together. One was a first-year student and one was a senior.
Yeah, it's such a special bond. I was listening to a radio show recently that was talking about how unique like the love of siblings is, because it's based on the thing that we've both been through these life experiences together. And sort of like middle school, like we've both been or are going through this crazy time together, and there's like a great bond that can form off of that.
And as you were mentioning earlier, there is the bickering and stuff with your actual sister, but it's almost as like you fight and everything, but there is that deeper like underlying love and support system that no matter what, you are there for them. I think for me, a part of it coming to college and being away for them for that longer time, in a way, is the most brought us closer together.
Sure.
Which drew me to Sister, because I realized once you're away from them, how much you sort of miss having that, and so it's kind of replaces it.
Well, I think I was being a little bit facetious earlier, but I
Yeah.
think the bickering is a sign of the love often, because you trust the person. You know, you can be nasty to your sister, your brother, and you know that they're not going to stop loving you. So it gives you a freedom of expression that you might not have with
That's true.
with
and
other
also,
people.
you know each other so well, you know the one thing that really gets to them as well.
That's right. You know,
Which is bad.
you know their weak spots.
Yeah.
That's right.
But that's just a sign of how much you really true know their real selves. So
Uh-huh.
that's good.
So Middlebury College it's a pretty intense experience. It's a lot of work. That's my impression, anyway. But you feel like you have time to devote to kind of these extracurricular kind of community outreach endeavors. It doesn't impact your academic life negatively.
I think sort of being at, or living life, it's all about like maintaining a balance, and this is definitely one aspect. Like, okay, so we have our academics because we're at college, right? But this is something else that like really helps keep it even and it's like sort of a grounding force, you know. It's like I have this space where like I have the college students who are part of Sister to Sister, and like I feel like that's also something that I really appreciate. And then being able to sort of like just be silly once a month and like get to know new people. Yeah.
And I love that a lot of our members are from such a range of majors and departments, and it's so great to hear like different people's perspectives and their different experiences at Middlebury, because sometimes we get like funneled into like different departments, and it's a great space to just talk together.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, definitely. Just thinking about that, just making the random connections. Like just at our past event, I was partnered with a freshman at Middlebury College to help hand out apples to the middle school girls, and we were just talking, and it turns out that we had mutual friends from like back home, and my roommate, my freshman year college roommate, actually had done a study abroad year with her in Spain. So just being able to talk to people you might not normally see at your daily life across campus because of your major or what else you're involved in, you kind of come together and can make these crazy connections that make you kind of, it's a small world.
Well, where are you from? I assume you're not all from Vermont.
Yeah, so I'm from Lexington, Massachusetts, which is, just outside of Boston.
Just down the road.
Yeah.
You're practically local.
Basically.
Yeah.
I'm from Los Angeles, California.
Okay, not quite so local.
Not quite down the road.
I live in Hong Kong, but I was actually born in London in England, and then moved there when I was 12. So.
We have to chat, though. Where are you?
I'm originally from Vienna, Austria.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, that would be another facet of the experience. Is not only are these young girls getting to interact with strong, capable, older college women, but you're from you're from all over the world in Middlebury. So that would be inspiring as well, and suggest to them all these opportunities, all these places that they could go to.
I hope so.
It'd be very broadening, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been great having, and I mean, this is just such a fabulous organization, such a fabulous program. I rave about it to everybody I talk to. I think it's wonderful. And thank you so much for doing it, putting yourselves out there and making it happen.
So come November 19th.
Yes,
Yeah.
November 19th. Is
And
our
there's a
summit.
brother-to-brother program too, which
Right.
hopefully will get on this show sometime.
That would be great.
Yeah.
So until next time, drive safe, and may all your mischief be of the lawful persuasion.